Welcome to the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast show, where we talk with some of the most amazing beings who are currently creating and shaping today's culture. And I'm your host, Dr. Sarah. Joel Correa is a queer creative hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He fuses his passion and love for music, fashion, comedy, and makeup to deliver uplifting and empowering messages to his audience. He has worked with the likes of Milk Makeup, ColourPop, and Morphe, just to name a few. He has amassed over 500,000 followers on TikTok, and that number continues to grow to this day. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Joel to the show.
Hello.
Wow. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. I really appreciate you. And you are, might I add, you are so gorgeous and so beautiful and fabulous. Look at you.
Oh
Just
my
look
gosh.
at this glow you got going on. You got the platinum blonde locks. Girl, you're serving it up.
Wow. I am blushing and flushed and I have no words. Thank you for that.
Of
wow.
course.
What an acknowledgement and what a way to welcome you on the show, which really resonates exactly with who you be. And I'm so excited to have you on. And I am just curious to know, this is how I always like to start the show is, I wonder what we're going to discover today. I wonder what we're going to receive and explore. You know, really, from what I understand, where you and I are both at, we'll have to see to find out. I would love for you to share with the audience, let's just say off the bat, something maybe exciting that's currently going on for you, or let's start there.
Okay. So right now I have like two little passion projects that I'm working on. First off, I'm fostering like my freelance makeup artistry, right? So I've opened myself up again to getting hired and, you know, doing events for people, photo shoots, weddings, whatever the case might be. Or even just like you're going out a night on the town and you just want someone to go ahead and do you up for like a dinner, high school reunion, whatever. So there's that. And then I'm also, after almost a decade out of not creating music, back in March, I released a song and people, my followers really liked it. They enjoyed it. So now I'm like pushing myself to get a body of work released on the 10-year anniversary of my last body of work, hopefully. So next September, I'm hoping to have a full body of music work to release. So yeah,
wow.
among some other things, but those are surprises.
Those are surprises. Amazing. And so share with us, what was the song? And I know your audience knows already, but I would love for you to share it here and talk a little bit about the music.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. The song is called Steps. And it was actually written after I had parted ways with a person that I was dating for a few months. It was the first relationship I had, you know, tried to, you know, it's the first serious dating spell that I had post a pretty toxic relationship that I had. And, you know, it was kind of like a learning curve, you know what I mean? So there was, you know, emotional apprehension and all. So the song really was birthed out of this painful place of like, wow, we don't have any resentment that's breaking us up. We don't have any, it's just, we're at this impasse emotionally. And I know that I still have work to do on myself. And it took, you know, getting into the woes of that dating to find out that you still had some work to do in home.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's where that song was born out of. And it's gotten such a good amount of love. It's been my most well-received song. I'm just really happy. Listen, that's to me is to the moon and back again, satisfying.
It's lighting you up because I hear music is not only a passion, but it captures a way to express yourself. And wow, what like nuances are in that song that are oftentimes difficult to get to unless you have gone through exactly what you went through. And to capture in music, I have to say I did listen to it. It's
okay.
Your voice, phenomenal.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And it conveys and captures just the energy of what you're saying in the song too. So
yeah. Not too sad, not too happy. It's just kind of like a mental like recap of a song. So yeah, thank you so much. That means so much to me.
Really. And I can see then how that could go and like just start taking off. Have you noticed that with your with your fans? Because of course we know you're on TikTok and you're on Instagram and you're. I'm jumping ahead. I know we'll get there, but your videos are just phenomenal. So, but I hear your audience has received your music in the midst of all of this as well.
Yes, they did. They really, with everything that's been going on in the world, right? It's allowed me a lot of home time, downtime to create, a lot of excuses to not go out, so yeah, it genuinely, it was my followers really showed out for it. And I tell them every single time, I'm like, I'm so thankful for y'all. I'm so blessed to have y'all. Like, I never, when I tell you, I'm just a Philly kid. I never thought that I would sit here and amass any kind of following like this. It was not my intention to amass a following like this.
Yeah.
So I'm just really happy with anything, even if it was 5 people following me, I'm still grateful. I'm that guy. So yeah, it really did.
Because it's part of who you be. I hear you're naturally that way, and it comes across in who you are. And maybe we can talk a little bit about how it all came about or exploded or came into form, be it TikTok or Instagram or however.
Yeah. So basically, to make a long story short, right? The world changed drastically. We were all forced to stay in home. And then my Instagram, I was really more so using it as like how I feel like most people use it, which is kind of like a yearbook, a scrapbook, a photo album, a virtual photo album that's like public for people. And it captures moments and milestones or whatever else you may deem, viable to put on there. But most of the time, I feel like that's how most people use it. It's more like your best moments,
Yes.
And then there, I found that it wasn't really it didn't really allow me to be goofy or anything like that. And when I jumped on TikTok, I was on there for months just watching them and cracking up and crying and all that stuff to the things that people do to TikToks. And eventually, like when I started seeing like how easy it was to actually create a video on there, I started doing little skits. And before you knew it, I did a 9-second Mean Girls skit. And I want you to know, listen, I had actually posted it. I had a little virtual get together with my friends. We were watching RuPaul's Drag Race via Zoom, and I closed the app. I had posted it, closed the app, went to bed that night, didn't even think about it. Woke up the next day, and I had 40,000 followers. It had over 250,000 views, and I want you to know I have never in my life experienced anything like that. And people talk about how that's like a serotonin rush. I have to say it gave me the biggest wave of anxiety I've ever had in my life.
Oh,
like
that too.
That was just because it's like, what do you do? Like what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're almost forced and pressured to be great every single time beyond that. But then you realize, yes, and the shock. Yes, the shock. It was like I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought I got canceled or something. I thought something scandalous happened. And no, knock on wood, luckily nothing like that. It was actually quite the opposite. It was a very positive reception, people cracking up and duetting and all that stuff. It was so I was so overwhelmed with so much love. And I'm so grateful. Like that was just me being silly. And then TikTok gave me the avenue to be silly and open and to be a personality as opposed to an image in a static feed,
Wow. That's a great distinction.
Yeah.
And where you could bring in all the elements of you, and literally you went viral overnight. Like you're one of those. It's like,
I know, and people say oh, it just happened. I always used to be like, well, you had to know that this was going to go viral. I'm like, no, I had actually been posting before that and nothing caught like that. And out of nowhere, boom, one 9-second video changed my entire trajectory of my creative life. It really did. It's nuts.
That's phenomenal. And then you sensed probably all of the energy that was coming in with it and everyone else's energy coming towards you. And it can be exciting, but at the same time, that energy is a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
And can create now this, like you said, almost an obligation to want to show up and be present for them with what they were receiving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't want to disappoint, and you don't want to like be corny or like, oh, you only had one great video. I mean, I guess you were just a one-hit wonder, And,
No, you don't want to
but
be
it's
that.
important. I always had the type of relationship that I never was like defined by social media. I never had that strong emotional grab to it like a lot of people in my generation, I feel like have.
Yeah.
If you like it that much, I'm not faulting you. Everyone has their stroke, but yeah, I've never, that's one thing that I always try to keep myself grounded with is like, don't ever feel like it's fleeting. All of that could leave tomorrow. And I wouldn't want my purpose to head out the window along with any type of loss of platform. So.
Well, you're sustaining it from where you began it to where you're going with it, in that it's fun and you're showing up to it, but you're not defining yourself by it, which is really how we're meant to function in life in general, is not to define ourselves by anything, but we can be everything.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
You are speaking facts, Dr. Sarah. Yes.
Oh, we're on point. Yay. So when you're just showing up and being it, then it's ease and it's pleasure, and you can use it for something greater. And if it went all the way tomorrow, it's no pressure
at all. No pressure at all. And I feel like, and there's also, my followers know me. They know me. They know that I won't, work with any brands that I don't care for or don't respect, or I always have their best interest at heart. When people want to work with me, I do research into the brands. I care so much about them because a majority of my followers are actually, at least in the app, they're identifying as cisgender female.
Yeah.
Or at least female, just female in general. Maybe not cisgender, maybe not be the proper word, but at least they're identifying as female in the app.
Yeah.
Especially as a cisgender male, I want to always foster a safe space for my queens, my women. And, I owe so much of my influence to the fierce women and queens that raised me, that were around me, that uplifted me, that made time for me. So I'm very protective of them, especially as that following grows. I am very, very protective of them.
Wow. Well, maybe this is a good time to go there and maybe talk a little bit about what that was like for you growing up and having some amazing women of, I sense, of magnitude present for you and contributing to your way of moving into this world. I would love to hear and love for you to share more about that.
Yeah. So, besides having just a strong admiration, I was always drawn, obviously, I feel like queer men naturally are kind of drawn to women by proxy because of the innate feminism we kind of carry within us.
Sure.
But my mom being, the woman that just kind of did her hair to go to the grocery store, always looked kept. She never left the house looking unkept. And it was for her. It was not for the approval of anybody else. It was because she felt good and she wanted to feel good. My dad was the same way. We were always taught to be respectful. My sister, who I love and adore, she's 5 years older than me. She's like my second mother.
Oh.
And pretty much anyone who I loved and respected mostly was female growing up. And then I worked at Lush Cosmetics. And there was these girls that I worked with, and they had this fierce winged eyeliner, and I would admire it every single day when they came in because it was so crisp and so sharp and clean. And I was like, you guys just look so friggin' fierce with this liner. And they were like, we work across from a Sephora, Joelle. Go get yourself some eyeliner. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by the queens and the women who have uplifted me and empowered me to embrace myself. Women do not owe men a single thing, and here they are just totally fostering a mother sister type of relationship, saying, no, come on, we're going to do this. Go rock your best self and put that eyeliner on.
Wow.
And it was all that's it. That's, murder she wrote from there,
Well, they saw in you and really, I sense, encouraged you to be it.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. And I tell them, I actually am really close with one of them still. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, when I say this in my podcast and in my interviews or whatever, I want you to know that you're one of the people I'm talking about. And we're really close. She lets me practice makeup on her all the time. She lets me just literally glam her out however I want, which I love her. Shout out to Bree. Love you, girl.
Oh, Bree. How nice. That's awesome. It's amazing to have supportive people in our lives that we can acknowledge and who get us, because it's often it's often rare in this reality to be seen clearly or to be encouraged to be ourselves. And when you do have individuals that do resonate that way, they're gifts.
Yeah. It's invaluable. It's
Yeah.
totally invaluable.
Wow. And since we're on like the space of kind of you when you were younger and growing up in this amazing, insane at times world, is there anything that would be, let's say, relevant for you to share with the audience that you would like to share of anything that showed up to you? Because I know you had mentioned before some things that may have been more challenging at times in your life.
I mean, in my life, I definitely, my younger years were pretty rough. My younger years were rough. I think those were some of the lowest points, if not the lowest points of my life. I think adolescence can be a maker or breaker for a lot of folks, you know, it really is a defining learning curve.
Yes.
And for me, between like ridicule and being bullied at school, for either my skin color or my sexuality, or, it was kind of always something that I was getting, kind of nitpicked at. And it kind of wears on your spirit. So by the time I was, in my teens, I struggled with wanting to, like, literally wondering, why am I even here? You know what I mean? Like, if this is genuinely like what I can expect the rest of my life, like, I don't want any part of this. Like, I don't want it. I didn't ask for this. Like, I struggled. And even then, and me and my mom are great now, but back then, my mom was of the train of thought of, well, everyone gets depressed and you just need to pray. And it just kind of felt like no matter where I turned, it just felt like there wasn't any validation anywhere I went. I was heavily raised in the church and went to Catholic school. So that was a big deal. And I struggled with suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And thank God for my sister, who made such an effort just to create a safe space for me to speak my mind and speak my truth. I always tell, like, I owe you my life, even beyond when I no longer am breathing. I will come back and protect your ass. Like, I love my sister so much, and I owe her the world, because I probably wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the time and the labor that she put into just making me feel normal. So
she was there as a way to remind you, or to hold a space for you to share whatever was going on, almost a release or vent, because this world, and I want to acknowledge, first of all, thank you for sharing that, and going there and acknowledging how overwhelming and intense that was. It's certainly a very touchy subject, and so I want to thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And also to acknowledge that this reality really functions that way. And for those of us who don't function in this reality, because we really resonate differently, I consider us types as energy beings.
Yes.
So we don't tend to do linear. We're not really into thought, feelings, and emotions. And when we take them on when they're not ours and start buying people's points of view, or we get believing our negative thoughts based on our mind, then that can drive us insane.
Yeah. It's not what we're wired to do. We're wired to be curious. We're wired to figure out what we want to do, how to do what we do, all of it, our comfort zone, our uncomfort zone, all of it is ours to define by experience and curiosity. So yeah, for sure. I totally agree.
Wow. And you as a young man and in a space of this linear world being so dogmatic, and even sometimes with religion, if you don't fit into the box, you can be rejected, which is a bit ironic at times that you were able to ride that out and clear that out and be in a place where you were able to move through it. So, wow, amazing.
Thank you. And I'm also not blind to the fact that not everyone does. I'm not blind to that. That's why I'm so passionate about it, is because I know how real and how acceptable the thought of, not being around anymore was. Yeah. And I just know that there's even more contributing factors in other people's lives, whether it be poverty or where they're located. It might be even like they might not have a means of escape, but as they say, it does get better.
Yeah.
I always believe that as queer people, it's lucky that we get to build our own families. If you're smart and you plan your coins and save your coins right, trust me, you can escape and get out of there. Yes, just hang in there. That's the best thing. Just hang in there. I promise you'll be glad that you did. Because now, if you would have told me that this would be where I would be 17 years from when I was having those thoughts and feelings, I would have sat there and said, I'm sorry. That's just not the truth.
That's not the truth.
Yeah.
But it was, and you did move through it. And it's amazing beings like you then can put a voice to it, can be an invitation for those who are suffering or who may not have the means. And even what you're doing on TikTok and your social media, where it's basically a free venue for people to receive this information. It's like you just being it allows people then to receive it. So I want to acknowledge that again about you. And it's like, what would it take for us to continue to create a difference in the world where everyone can receive this information, that they are not their thoughts or not their feelings. And a lot of times what I'm aware of with suicidal ideation, it's not that people want to end their life. They just want out of whatever the hell this is.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's why, like, let's be real, right? If the thought was that I just didn't want, like, that's it. I just don't want to be alive. And that was it. I mean, I don't think people would be I don't think it would be a contemplative point for people for so long. And that's the thing, is that it's the turmoil and people really put forth the strength to find that purpose. No, I'm fight through, but then they get knocked down again. And then it just feels like, damn, all the effort that I'm putting in over here, it's like, what is it for? And you're spot on. It's not that they don't want to live. It's just that they don't want to suffer. No, we have a divine right to live the best lives that we can have, that we're capable of having. So yes, absolutely.
Wow. I love that description. And it's so true. And you know how the whole social media is set up on algorithms. I'm aware that our minds are set up the same way.
Yeah.
I'm aware that the mind is a terrible thing. We're meant to waste it.
It really is.
It loves to get in the way with all the thoughts and the feelings and emotions. And there's this interesting statistic. You'll love this, Joel. It's that 90% of all our thoughts, feelings, and emotions don't belong to us.
Oh, wow.
We're picking it up off of other people, other things, situations going on in the world.
And that makes sense. Because if you think about it, right? Like as kids, we're sponges. We're always, even as babies, we're literally looking for reactions from whatever we're doing. And that's how we learn oh my gosh, that's wild. That is wild.
That's fascinating, because as you were sharing with me your story, which is so profound, is that how much were you at the time actually picking up on other people's stuff that didn't belong to you? They didn't know, and you were just so aware of it, because we tend to be highly aware beings.
Yeah. We really do. Yeah. If you're empathetic, you kind of have your finger on the pulse of the world, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's for sure. And you internalize so much more than you need to. Yeah. Just to feel, it's odd, but it's almost like to survive. It's you feel like, okay, I have to really read people correctly to know whether I'm safe or not in certain spaces. And
especially when we're functioning from the outside in, and now you're functioning from you're being it into the world rather than it coming at you. And that's just such the game changer. And I wonder, is that in a way what happened for you, or maybe describe what did happen for you?
Oh my God. The fact that you're even asking this question, I actually just had this conversation with a coworker who was just like, you're so positive. And I told her, I was like, if you only knew where I came from, you would sit there and be like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? But yeah, that effort, and major props to my sister. And this is why it's so important. And I always tell people, creating a safe space for the people that you care about, and not only the people that you care about, for anybody that I think it's just our human duty to just create safe spaces for people. I think that is what allowed me to heal. when I started to finally build that family, when I started to build my support network, right? Because that's the thing, when you need help,
Yeah.
you become desperate. You reach out and you have conversations, and I was just blessed where life brought me the right combination of people, and I will never overlook the blessing that is, having those people intercede into your life and become a part of your life.
Wow.
And they allowed me to, like I said, a safe space to speak my truth, express my thoughts, my irrational ones to the rational ones. And if I was irrational, they would ground me out, hear me out. I didn't keep friends that were like yes people, people that were just kind of like quick to just agree or validate anything I said. I really wanted people that listened to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Therapy obviously was a huge proponent, as an adult, especially making sure that you put in that work, your pride aside, and realizing that even though I functioned as a child, realizing that, some of that stuff that you experience as a child, even with your family, is not sometimes the most conducive to your mental health, and unwiring all of that hardwiring.
Yes.
And which is, as you mentioned earlier, a byproduct of people telling me to wire it that way.
Yes.
My instincts would have told me otherwise, but when your survival tells you, well, if you don't do it, then you're going to look forward to more pain and more suffering and more ostracizing and all of that. Of course, you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, this is what I have to do to survive, to do this. So it was a lot of conscious efforts, and again, blessed that I got here. I know that not everyone can say that, and I'm grateful.
Well, it's an inspiration that you are, to show that what you're bringing in and showing people that it is possible. It really is inspiring.
It absolutely is possible. If anybody is watching or listening to this, please know, from my lips to God's ears, like, just know it is absolutely possible. And just look for that support system. You're going to build it, and you're going to get out of whatever small town, your home, whatever it is that's causing you suffering, you're going to get there.
Yeah. And every choice creates. So you chose along the way, as hard as it was, something different. And even in the midst of it all, you were open to receiving. So these are like some really key factors, and what I kind of look at as living consciously. And if we're living consciously, it's like it includes the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're not meant to block anything out or push anything out, but it's more of like, okay, this is showing up. What's it going to take to change this? Being the question. And you were always questioning and looking, and never gave in, never gave up, never quit. But at the same time, you were willing to choose it. So that's a huge thing, is that we do have choice, even in the midst of all, I call it the insanity, which is really unconsciousness. And that's a lot of how this reality works, is unconsciously. People just walk around, aren't very present.
You are dropping gems, Dr. Sarah. You are dropping gems, girl.
Well, I'm so grateful that we can have this conversation and kind of go deep with it, because this is not normal conversation that we can have with just certain people. It's like you have to understand it and know it to even conversate about this.
Absolutely. And you have to also have people that are willing to have an open mind towards these conversations, A lot of people think it's just, go to therapy, go to a psychologist, get some pills. It's just like, no, not everyone reaches for the same toolbox for their issues. And that's, that's why, normalizing mental health discussions, normalizing saying to people that you care about that you're anxious, that you're uncomfortable, that there's boundaries that you need for yourself. And even if those boundaries may even cause you anxiety because you don't feel like offended, because that's right. Sometimes we feel fear of asserting ourselves. That's why it's important to also keep in mind that your value is never contingent upon other people's tolerance of your needs. So, that's a big deal for me. And that's why I don't call everybody a friend. It takes a lot for me to call someone a friend. Because they gotta prove the receipts, they gotta show me that they're worth their weight, and it's not like a tit for tat thing, because not everyone gives in a friendship the same way. Everyone kind of has their own language when it comes to love and friendships, but it's more so knowing that that a person's just as invested in your happiness as you are theirs, and that's what I feel camaraderie and friendship and family is all about.
Oh, wow. That talk about a gem. There's a gem.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Yes. And that we it's so important. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I've been asking for an extra 24 hours in the day to show
Oh,
up because I love creating so much, and I'm sure you can relate. But like, unless someone's going to resonate in my world to contribute greater in us together, like you said, like a creationship and bring something greater to the table for each of us, it's like, I really don't have time to resonate for people who are just kind of just, it's not a judgment, it's just an awareness.
no, right. And that's why I call those people acquaintances.
Yes.
They have like a satellite presence to my life where
Yeah.
it's not that I'm blocking you, not at
Yep.
all. It's just that I know that like where my energies lie, my priorities are.
Mm.
I'm not going to just drop everything for someone whom I know that if I, for some reason, needed even just time, and not that I need something physically, but maybe I just need an ear or time of yours, just a second. And I find that I'm finding myself getting this kind of energy where I'm like, there's like a resistance here.
Mm.
That's when I go, okay, well, now I know you're not a bad person. I
Yep.
just know that like you're not going to be a person that I'm going to put at the very top of my call list.
Exactly.
It's just
Yes.
knowing what to do and managing our times as adults, because our time is worth money. And yes,
We have great work to do in the world, when we're
yes,
spreading kindness and joy and ease, and also clearing out all the insanity, that takes a lot of time.
yeah, exactly, girl. You got it.
And it's also a testament to what you're looking to create for you too. And that it's such, like, we have to be able to be willing to be that energy and create it in that way. Otherwise we'll get weighed down by a lot of the stuff we don't require. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
And there were so many amazing things that you said in that last statement. There's lots of areas we can go with that.
I'm glad that makes me feel, I'm glad that I'm like contributing to the conversation, because
Oh my gosh, please.
I'm sitting across from Miss Dr. Sarah, girl. You know what I mean? Like, I got to make sure I'm on my P's and Q's.
Oh my word, that's so good. Which I love your comedy, and I want to get to that, and maybe we'll go there next. But I just want to acknowledge one other quick thing is that your awareness on these things, and they're so keen, and I'm aware too that when something doesn't resonate, like, we're going to be more aware of it than ever before, especially when we're living consciously, and that we can have allowance, but we're going to choose from that space of greater from that awareness that we get. And a lot of times, and this is the other point related to anxiety and awareness, that I'm aware that anxiety a lot of times is misidentified awareness.
It absolutely is.
We're like so aware, but it's all coming at us at once, and it wants to be overwhelming.
Right. No, you're spot on. That or just misdirection of awareness.
Yes.
Right. Like, I'm putting all of my awareness I'm internalizing the awareness.
Yes.
As opposed to doing something that I'm supposed to be doing with the awareness. Like, whether if it's just, oh, okay, make note of it, move on.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is, or I need to turn right as opposed to left. Like, that's the thing, right? You're spot on. I think anxiety is it manifests itself as it's a me thing, it's a me problem, because you are in control essentially of the anxiety. But I think at a certain point, you have to realize that, like, yeah, you're right on. Like, that's something it's given to us. I mean, I feel like this is the recurring theme, right? It is. It's given to us. It doesn't exist without an external factor.
And you brought up an amazing point before about relearning and getting clear on how to navigate this reality in a new way rather than that old way that didn't work.
Right. And that's the thing, like, loosening the momentum of like your childhood expectations, I feel like I always say we go through regular puberty that we all know about, like in middle school, but then no one really ever preps us for like the young adult puberty that we get when you're like in like your late teens, and then you're like, wait, like, this isn't really going exactly how I thought it was going to go. And then you get into like your mid 20s, and then you're like, whoa, did not know that this is what life was like. And then you get into your 30s. And it's just more, it just keeps happening. I feel like we're always in this constant state of like this puberty awkwardness. But that's growth. That's
Yeah.
growth though. And
Yes.
that goes to show that you are applying the lessons that are being given to you.
And that you're willing to live your life fully and morph and
Yes.
change and be like, I look at pictures from me even a year ago. I'm like, I am not even that same being. I'm like, like what?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
that's
you're
how
right.
we do.
Right. That is too funny. But yeah, spot on.
Well, speaking of funny, you are hilarious.
Well, thank you.
You are. I turn on your TikToks and I cry laughing at what I see at times because it's so amazing, so good. And just, I would love for you to talk about that and even your creative process
Yeah.
of how this all comes about, or anywhere you would like to go with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, again, kind of touching on what I touched on earlier, right? Like always creating a safe space. So I love to just kind of be the thing that I like to see in the world. They always say, be the change you want to be, see in the world, right? They always say that.
Yeah.
But genuinely, like, it's something that, like me, I make the kind of music that I want to listen to. I create the content that I want to see. That's just, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I see audios and stuff like that. And I just think like my followers would get a kick out of seeing me do the thing that, you know, that's a skip. So a lot of it's lip syncing, right? It's me doing lip syncs to preset audio. Sometimes it's a comedy skit. Sometimes it's, you know, a music, like maybe like a rap verse or something like that. And then other times it's just me speaking. And that's something that I'm trying to get more comfortable and more in the habit of doing.
Yes.
Is like trying to put myself more out there in terms of like my own content. Because it's so easy for me to feel like I'm not that interesting as a person. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my
I feel like we all kind of suffer from that a bit though. Like we feel like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, like I'm not special. It's not that I'm like degrading myself, but it's more like, I guess I don't really find myself that, like I live with myself. I'm with myself 24 hours a day. You know, I can only find myself so interesting. So I've had my friends, the support system, right? I've had my friends, like I asked them like, hey, like when I say something that you guys like for some reason crack up at, like remind me to like just write down whatever it was that I was talking about or ranting about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of like a little bit of that creative process. And then when it comes to like my actual, like people always wonder like how I'm able to film so many TikToks like with one makeup look.
Yes, do tell.
And I have a little example here. Sorry, it's a little wrinkled, but this here is like it's like a spreadsheet that just has all of my makeup steps like just listed out. And it basically allows me to kind of plan out shot per shot of like what makeup part or step, you know, whether it's the right eye, doing the second color on the right eye or the third color on the left. And it literally allows me to just kind of work through, and I slowly work through like all the check boxes. And by the time I get to the end, all the content is filmed for the week.
Phenomenal.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's literally another full-time job because obviously you have to answer business emails and all that good stuff as well. So yeah, I work my daytime job, and then once 5 o'clock hits, it's literally, you know, onto the creation and the art and all of that.
TikToking it out.
Yeah, TikToking it out.
Well, that spreadsheet is brilliant. Like, how did you come up with that? Was that?
I did project management for a bit. So I think it's a thing in project management where you scope out your work. You sit there and you go, okay, let's lay out everything I need to do. And you just kind of, you know, you figure out your plan of attack and what works, and you look at your failures, your successes, and how to better it. So that's kind of where I went with it.
Well, and what's amazing about that, each video is so unique, one of a kind. Like you would never know there was even a formula to it like that, because it's just so, wow. It's really cool.
And I just know that's how the algorithm works on TikTok, right? Like you could be seeing my face for the first time ever. So every post has to be its own independent energy so that people can, you know, like it if they would like it.
So you've even learned how the algorithm works, which is really important too. Like what are you aware of with that now that you've had some time and experience?
So yeah, I would say the algorithm, I've learned that it looks at everything. It looks at how long you stayed looking at a video. It looks at whether who you shared what type of content with. It's all these things are being taken into consideration, because why wouldn't it, right? It's literally, that's your most honest self. It's not just what you put in a comment or liking something. It's also how long you stayed engaged with that particular video.
Wow.
So these are all things that I just know are telling the algorithm more and more who I am. So obviously that algorithm is going to try and pair me with more and more people that are like me, or like-minded to me, or align themselves with me. So I try to just remain consistent. I try to, my content has I would say like a box that it kind of fits in, right? Comedy, uplifting. That's pretty much where it's at. It's comedy and uplifting, and then makeup tips as well.
That's so great. Like you're giving the makeup kit or the tip as you're filming it. Like you get to see it visually, which will inspire people to want to recreate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I've just developed like a style too of shooting my videos that I think people have recognized as like, that's his style. Like that's Joel's style of doing video. Yeah.
It's your little niche.
Period. Literally.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And so with that, what about the makeup? Maybe let's go there and talk about makeup, because I love your makeup and I love how you do makeup, and let's talk makeup.
So, like I mentioned briefly earlier, it kind of started with me being obsessed with these girls I worked with their wing combination. And honestly, I used to not really have any type of passion towards makeup at all. I would watch my sister putting it on, my mom putting it on, and I would be like, oh my God, all that work, like I would just, but then I was always in the arts. So I actually like, even when I got to college, I actually had taken graphic design, for a year and a half. I was very much into like the fine art classes, figure drawing, and I've just always, even as a kid, as a child, I took piano lessons. Art has just been a very pervasive force in my life.
Wow.
So when it came to finally figuring out makeup, and something about the complexity and actually how much of a challenge it was allured me to it. I was like, because I would see I would see either celebrities walking the red carpet, or even I'd go out to a club at night and just see this, beautiful, gorgeous beat, and like to think like women did that, like girl, you did that like on yourself, like, you know what I mean? Like there's something about that just showed such a high level of artistry to me. And being obsessed with film and fashion also kind of plays into kind of like makeup is like that last little bit of that trifecta,
Yes.
So yeah, it just kind of, I feel like it just really fostered a secret area of love that I didn't even realize didn't even have nurturing, and then all of a sudden just sprouted into a beanstalk.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely just, now it's something that I'm obsessed with figuring out how to, as now it's become an obsession to like when I do bridal or if I do client work, transforming and seeing the energy that like the shroud that has been shed when they just feel so glamorous and so beautiful. And something about being able to just make someone feel beautiful, even though they're beautiful. Let's be clear, we're all beautiful without makeup.
Yes.
But being able to do that for someone, to me, is like, and especially like me, I'm a feminist, as a cisgender man, I am a hardcore feminist. And so like something where I can sit there and make a woman feel great about herself. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is amazing. You know what I mean?
That's a gift, a talent, and just a beyond, really.
And I'm blessed to anyone that I work with who sits down in my chair. I love hearing their story. I love I love it all. It's such a process. It's such a connection thing. It's like getting a tattoo, right? It's an intimate experience. So I love that.
You can see it transform like almost immediately, like in such a short period of time. And
like, that gasp, when they see themselves for the first time and they're just like, oh my God. And they're just so taken aback. Like that to me is Chef's kiss.
It's magical. And it really is the energy we're meant to be in this world, the joy and the ease and feeling really great about ourselves. And
Absolutely.
you impart that on the person in a way that they can receive it. And it's like,
Thank you. Listen, and I hope until the wheels fall off, I hope that that's something that I can continue to do and foster. And not just for women, right? For anybody, any walk of life, you know?
Anyone.
If you're a guy that wants to get makeup done and sit in my chair, I will gladly have you sit down in my chair. Anybody. If anybody is going to feel more powerful, sit down in my chair. I'd love to have you.
Because that takes us beyond this reality, beyond our gender,
Armor.
beyond all of it. Where we're just beings and we have a body. And I kind of look at our being has a consciousness of its own. Our body has a consciousness of its own. And we're just meant to kumbaya with it and play with it and have fun with it. And
navigate it at your speed.
Yes. And anything that you want to be it.
Yes, absolutely that. Are you kidding me? Yes.
It's such a wonderful thing. And when you're willing to be that in the world, even though maybe this is another area we can go into, even though you're going to be judged, even though other people may not like it, it's like, I'm from the awareness of, okay, thank you for your judgment. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That is, you're spot on, because the judgment is real, especially in the social media age.
Yeah.
Ooh, it is pervasive. It is, yes.
And have you hit up against that where you have anyone, or have you noticed, anything around that with regards to judgment or people coming in? I like to use the language heavy, or kind of just, not out for the greatest interests of others.
Oh, all the time. I won't get into too detailed of a specific, but all the time. It's happened, whether in the queer community, men kind of look down towards, men who I guess are a bit more feminine, and they kind of put them off to the side, like, oh yeah, you're more feminine, you're more femme. And they kind of you're not as masculine. And it's just like, this is just makeup. This has nothing to do with my level of masculinity or femininity. And also, what does that even matter? That's such an inconsequential factor in anything. But
well, it weeds people out really quick. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Right out.
You got to weed them out. And even things like, friends or family, they can get a little judgmental. And then when it comes to social media, there's definitely, I don't think there's a single time that I jump on a live with my followers that I'm not hit with some kind of hates or trolls, or sometimes, some people who are very religious will come on and they'll sit there and say this is what's wrong with our nation, or this is what's this, or, people just have so many opinions. But I'm going to be honest with you. I am very much, I think RuPaul said this, and excuse my French, but he always said, if they don't pay your bills, pay them bitches no mind. And it's just the truth. It's totally inconsequential to me whether you like the fact that I do makeup or not. I'm still going to be doing makeup whether you like it or not. So you're suffering. I'm not, but that's okay. That's just karmic justice, the way I look at it.
That's right on. And I'm so aware a lot of times, it's so good. I'm aware of a lot of times when people are judging, they're accusing you of actually what they're being.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's usually what people do, is they have this rigid point of view, and then they put it on you like it's true, when it's true. It's them carrying it.
Absolutely. Or it's just, it's jealousy sometimes too.
Yes.
And not jealousy in that, I don't think that the bro in the deep South is trying to get into makeup. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. I think it's more so, it's how dare you be so unapologetically yourself?
Yes.
And it's this thing that enrages people. It's how dare you be so comfortable in your own skin?
Yes.
It makes me uncomfortable how comfortable you are in your own skin. And I always find that that's more the energy I get from those interactions than I do than oh, you hate me, or you hate queer people, or you hate guys that do makeup. I feel like that would be such a specific thing to try to hate. So I kind of feel like it seems more that you hate that I am unbothered by the fact that you don't like it.
Yes, that. And remember at the beginning of the show where I said even about your song that you got to a nugget in it that isn't available unless you really went through what you went through. This is the case here too. It's like this nugget that looks like it's judgment, and it's jealousy where people are envious or jealous of your just comfort level and you being you when they're unhappy a lot of times in their own life. And I'm kind of the awareness that I call a spade a spade. I don't judge at all, but I'll call someone out and call because that's what they're choosing. And a lot of people in this world tend to show up unconsciously, which is okay. And there's a lot of beings like us who aren't. So, but we have to call it out. Otherwise you'll get pulled into it.
Absolutely. And accountability and judgment are not something that for some reason are married at the altar together and always go everywhere together. Not at all. I think that it's our judgment that helps us, determine whether things are right or wrong. And accountability is what helps the world become a better place, So yeah, I'm with you.
When you're in the awareness of those things and you can choose it, that's different. But then there's the people who are using hate to try to get a rise or, the one thing I'm aware of with amazing beings like you and doing the influencing work that you're doing is unless you have trolls, unless you have judgers, you haven't arrived. And now you've arrived because you have haters.
Yes, absolutely. And and they always say you're not doing something right unless you're pissing someone off.
Exactly.
So, and it's true, you are doing something right because it's striking a chord somewhere. People will always be comfortable with complacency. If they can walk all over you, if you are not a threat to their peace, they will endorse you until the wheels fall off. The moment that you become a force that now is a something that either of envy to them or a threat to them or that's when suddenly the eyebrows start to get arched and people start to look down their nose and things get a little different. That dynamic quickly changes.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why I say keep a good support system. Keep a good support system.
And you'll notice when people start doing that, right? Then it's almost when it doesn't match their point of view any longer.
Absolutely. They stick out like sore thumbs. That's exactly what happens. Yeah.
Yep. And then it just becomes a time where it's just a choice on your part to choose, especially when we're talking more immediate people in our lives. Like, is this person going to be in the likeness of me or choice of me? I love asking the question and getting a read on the energy of things. Because that's another way of just remaining conscious with what is. Because a lot of times if we get stuck in a construct or a mindset, it can limit us from seeing really what's going on too.
Yeah. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
And this is what I love about you being you and what you're choosing to be in this world, that you're constantly creating, constantly out creating yourself and really looking at kind of what's next.
I will say, I'm always wondering what's next. I feel like the moment that I'm no longer wondering what's next, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. You know what I mean? I feel like at that point, I'm probably on the bed and I'm already seeing the toes of God himself, so that's the time to ask another question. And that'll be, what do I create? And then you go again. What do I do now? Right. There's always, where are we going? There's always a question. It's human nature to question. Yes. And that brings up a question. Is there something that you're looking to create? Let's say, not about predicting the future, but things you have in mind that you desire to bring in that you haven't yet, or absolutely. Would you be willing to share a little bit about that? I mean, to be honest with you, we're kind of doing a little bit of it right now. I would love to in future have a series that I can have all walks of life come over. I would love to interview them. But interview them in the sense of I want them to have that moment, here's the podium, tell your story, and I want that to be this thing where, and then I want to be actively listening, and then I want to ask diving questions into their experience. And then I would love to, after all that's said and done, I would love to, in my mind's eye, I'm like, like a red table talk where I go, well, now that we know your story, let's get you all glammed up. And I would love to then, let's segue, and then it's them sitting in the chair, and then I can go through what I'm using. And then at the end, they're all glammed up, and it might be like a long thing, like a series to edit, right? Because you have like the interview portion, and then you also have the actual makeup portion.
Yeah.
But it's something that I really want to do because I love the red table talk. I think that it's had such a strong source of support behind it, because I think it's like this conversation. It is a conversation amongst different generations, different walks of life. And I think that that's something that's super awesome. And I mean all walks of life. Like I even mean the conservative person that maybe does not want me to get married and would still be willing to sit down in my chair.
Yes.
Like, why not? Like, hey, I can have a civilized conversation with you. It's not to say, we're not going to sit here and make anybody, the bad guy. We're just gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I really want that, because I want it to be something that it's for the sake of like good interviewing shit, good journalism. You know what I mean? That and something that's really conducive to a mental health dialogue and conversation, especially about society.
Wow. Thank you.
So that's where I see long term. Yeah, long term. Thank you for asking that, because I would love to do that. It's going to take some planning, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I could almost see it as like a television series.
I would die a happy man. I would die a very happy man if that was the case.
I would definitely watch it, because it would be so intriguing to.
I'd have you on it.
Oh.
I would have you on it in a heartbeat, girl. Are you kidding me? I'm like, well, we have Dr. Sarah I would give you your own. If I had my own TV show, you'd have your own segment, girl. Let's be real.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Be a tag team. I could come in.
Yes. Are you kidding me? That would be piece de résistance.
Oh. I would love it. That's so, wow. I'm blushing again. Go away. But that's the thing. That's what I sense people see in you, and you bring out so much joy and ease and this fun and playfulness. This is like what we're talking about. And it's such a cool thing. And I love phenomenal idea.
Hey, we're here for a great time, not a long time, because we don't know how long we've got. So you better add life to your years, baby. That's what I always say. Add life to those years.
I'm loving that. And how's it getting any better than that? That's a great question to always ask. And it's almost like constantly being in the question and being in that space. But it's like, wow, I wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you for asking. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you like to do, let's say in a personal space, like for self-care, or anything we haven't talked about already, anything related to body or being, or anything you enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I would say baths. Baths are definitely something that I'm obsessed with. I actually like, when it comes to like my skincare and stuff like that, like it's not just skincare to me. It's actually like, it's a bit of it's that me time. Yeah. I think like on average, a lot of people don't really I would challenge a lot of people to observe how much time you actually have for yourself in the day. You have responsibilities, and yes, they are your responsibilities. But I would challenge people to really observe how much time you actually have to yourself in a day. And I think that in there lies an opportunity. And I think that that's a big thing for me. I think that, again, adding life to your years, knowing that you want to honor yourself as much as you can. We're here for however long we're here for.
Yeah.
So it's kind of important that you honor yourself as much as you can. So look at how much time you spend with yourself and ask yourself, how much have I honored myself recently or lately?
That's a beautiful question.
Yeah. So that's a big self-care thing that I do for myself. I also have no problem with saying no. And my friends, hey, let's go out tonight. You know what? I'm good. I'm good tonight. I'm not being a party pooper, but I'm good tonight. I'm loving this piece that I'm in. Lighting a candle, putting on some lo-fi music. I'm all about fostering a space. You can see a consistency in what I do.
I'm melting into it as you talk. I'm like,
See? And that's important to me because like you step out of your home or wherever your space is and you can be hit with whatever chaos. Your car could break down, road rage, a guy comes out of an accident. You never know. That's the thing. When you step outside, it's fair game.
It really is. And I love the point you're making. And especially for those of us who pick up on so much energy all the time, we really require time to ourselves.
Yes.
And being in a space where you have space just to be without stimulation. And I love my alone time with me too. It's like, I mean,
let's be real. I love it when the air conditioner like shuts off and all of a sudden I don't even hear the white noise of the hum of the air conditioner anymore. Even that to me can bring me so much peace. So Dr. Sarah, girl.
We're speaking the same language.
Yes, we really are. We really are.
And when we have, I love it. And if we have that time with ourselves, then it makes it easier when we have to show up to other beings and allows us, I call it, to navigate the humans.
You're onto something there. Yes. Because if you don't take the time to fill your cup.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're supposed to be expecting yourself to fill up anybody else's. There's no way. No way. You are going to end up getting the short end of the stick. Also, you got to be careful for energy vampires.
Oh my goodness.
There and that are willing to take on whatever you're going to give them. Okay. Giving people will encounter taking people. Okay. Like that is just how life works. Okay. So it is important that you always know when you are feeling like you're running on fumes, you got to cut the stimuli and you got to recharge. Whatever that recharge is, you have to do it. Because even the people you care about, you're going to change them in the long run if you are not careful and you don't recharge. Yeah.
Especially those, right?
Yeah, especially them.
Wow. I love that. And the energy vampires, they are out there.
Yes.
And they love to
and
take
they pray. Us. They pray and they pray, girl. They pray. And listen, I'm even convinced that a lot of them aren't even aware that they're energy vampires.
No.
I'm convinced. I think a lot of people lack that type of self-awareness to know when they're impeding on someone emotionally. And that is for sure something that's out there. So people that are empathetic and sympathetic out there, people who are very giving out there, be conscious of the people you make time for. And be conscious also about how much of them you're internalizing and how much like if they're giving anything fruitful in return. Again, not give and take, but it should feel like people are equally invested in each other's success.
That's great advice. That is such great advice. Because otherwise it kind of sneaks up and you're right on in that they don't even know they're doing it. They just see beings that are like us that are givers and just naturally light up things. And they're just, because they don't produce it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Or no one gives them that time of day. And then here you are, you're like a gold mine and you're just willing to give it all to them. No, listen, we all learned the hard way. One way or another, we all got stung by an energy vampire.
Oh my gosh, it's exactly it. And they're the ones that will find the ones that want to suck it like from us when we're giving too much. They'll find you like a moth to a flame.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's good to be aware of, to choose something else. Which is a great point too. Like a lot of times when we clear the things in our lives that aren't serving us and we're no longer in a point of view on it, then it doesn't charge the other side to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes there's some really fun tools to play with where you can clear your mind of right and wrong, good and bad, where then there's just nothing there and you can just be in a space of choice and possibilities.
I need some of that, girl.
I know.
I need some of that.
We'll have to talk more. We could have a whole nother show.
Right.
But yeah, when we're actually clear and we're not taking a side, then we can see the vampire, energy vampires coming. But if you don't choose to see them, they'll sneak up. So when you don't have a point of view on them, then you'll just be like, oh, okay, there that is. Okay. What do I have to do?
They will leave. If you do not give them something to feast on, they will leave.
Absolutely, they will. Because they won't get what they want.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's literally how that works.
Wow. Well, oh my goodness. I am so grateful that you came on the show today.
Dr. Sarah, you say that you're grateful I came on, but I am honored to be here. I love the work that you're doing. I hope that you are only going to just skyrocket out of my mind with success. I want that. I'm manifesting that for you. I hope you're manifesting it for yourself. I feel like you are the kind of person to manifest for themselves. So
yes,
please keep up with just filling this world up with making safe spaces for people to have discussions like this, with the light that you provide people, with the love that you're providing people. You're amazing. Please don't stop doing this. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes you, just know that this here is important work. And I'm honored to have been here. Just thank you so much for even considering me and for the labor that you put into setting this up, because I know that it was, some labor to get it set up. So thank you so much, literally.
Well, what an acknowledgement that is. And I'm like so humbled to that. Thank you for that. It's just, wow. I don't have words. Thank you.
No, the pleasure is all mine, honestly.
And I would love for you to come on the show again.
Oh, as long as you'll have me, I will always be back. So however many times you need me or want me, I'll be there.
Oh, fantastic. And so, yay, I'm so excited already. But before we get finished, is there anything you would like to share with the audience, a little, nugget to go with, to be with, that they can have just to go along their day?
I'm going to end it with one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite poems. It's a poem called My IQ by Ani DeFranco. Yeah. And the very end of the poem says, "And I sing sometimes for the war that I fight, because every tool is a weapon if you hold it right." So take from that what you will. Those lines have brought me a tremendous amounts of solace throughout the years, and it lets me kind of remember that every tool is indeed a weapon if you hold it right, whether that is your knowledge, whether that is your love, whether that is your empathy, your sympathy, your vulnerability, your truth, your time, your resources, your money, whatever that is, every tool is a weapon if you hold it right. So so that, to me, I'm going to leave it with that, because that is my thing.
That says it all. It brings us full circle to all of this. And wow.
Dr. Sarah, thank you for having me again. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely, Joelle. I appreciate you too.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for being with us today. And be sure to join us next time for more conversations and insights into some of your favorite influencers. Now, don't forget to join me, Dr. Sarah, anywhere I'm on social media. And always, always, always remember that I have your back.